The Ship by L.K. Waldrep. Preface. I am a part of a group that assists others in recognizing their identity and inheritance. We have been growing and learning together for several years. Our group ebbs and flows with members because our times and seasons shift, but the lessons we learn while we serve stay with us for a lifetime. Each season brings a deeper level of understanding, making the truths we knew before deeper and wider. The Creator unveils new levels of depths as each season progresses. In one of those seasons, we delved into a personal healing process shown by the Creator. This story was birthed from that healing. Although the story is fictional, the elements of truths used for healing are sprinkled within the story. Our traumas are different from one another, but these traumas all hurt us in similar ways. Our spirits get wounded, and sometimes they fracture, separating from our identity. In the ship, we will follow Marvin and discover his journey to finding the wholeness that brings him into his identity. Chapter 1. The rain beat down on the deck of the ship. The wind was cool, and the storm seemed to be picking up. The man's skin was sore from exposure to the elements. He sat curled up, tied to the spot in the bow, trying to find protection from the storm. He knew others needed his help on the ship, but found he was unable to move freely to give assistance. In the same moment in time, from an unseen realm, a man could be seen pounding on a membrane that was sealing a doorway. His features imprinted into this film as he tried to get through this entry point. On the other side of the doorway was warmth. There was a kitchen island with a sink in the center and bar stools pushed underneath. Not too far from the island was a sliding glass door. He desired to get through this entry point to the safety on the other side, yet he remained stuck here, unable to see any other way out. Chapter 2. Marvin awoke early. He was on leave, but the routine in the Navy had conditioned him to wake well before sunrise. He had missed his family during his previous deployments and wanted to be sure he didn't miss a thing before he shipped off. Rising early before his family awoke allowed him to keep up with the physical training his body required. He put on his shoes and grabbed his coat, gloves, and cap as he headed out the front door. It was cool outside, with a few snow flurries. As he breathed in the crisp air, he could feel the chill as it made its way to the depths of his lungs, awakening his senses. He knew a run was just what he needed to revive his spirit. Most of the snow had been cleared from the street, and it was early enough that the town still slept, allowing Marvin full access to the road. Each deep exhale was visible in the air while the snowflakes melted on his warm face. He ran down the street past his neighbors' homes. The sun hadn't revealed itself yet, giving the street lights the right to illuminate his path. As Marvin continued through the neighborhood, lights began to show in a few of the homes, a clear sign that civilians were waking up. Marvin was not only trying to keep fit for the upcoming deployment, but he desired to keep his mind sharp and alert. Each time he had to leave his family, it got harder. The pain ran deeper, and emptiness consumed him. His family meant everything to him. He looked forward to returning and making new memories with his family. He found himself on the edge of town. a signal that his run was at an end. A few shop workers were setting up for the day. The butcher seems up and about, Marvin thought to himself as he observed Billy the butcher unloading a truck filled with fresh meats. Marvin turned past Billy's shop and directed his final steps to the pier. He stopped when he reached it, breathing deeply and allowing his body to cool a bit. Steam rested on the dock as it rolled off his still figure. He was thankful for the solitude here. He could see the river hadn't frozen over yet, allowing a good current flow. The sounds of the water here reminded him of the sounds on his ship. His hands braced against his knees as he let his head drop. Since Marvin had been home, he felt different. He was noticing his emotions didn't seem to be in check. Memories of the harsh words he had spoken to his wife and children over this past visit lingered in his mind, weighing heavily on his heart. He didn't mean to be so harsh, but pressure had built to a boiling point inside, and it came out of him in the most hurtful ways. Maybe they didn't notice, he thought. There was hope that the run would make him feel less empty, but he remained emotionally hollow. He didn't want these last few days that he had with his family to be filled with hurtful memories. Tears began to run down his face, followed by a deep-seated scream. There was so much pressure inside that needed to be released, and this seemed like the perfect place to free it. No one was listening, or so he thought. Billy the butcher was just a couple of shops away from the dock. Marvin's deep and emotional scream traveled outward in the morning air, alerting Billy that someone might be in trouble. He caught a glimpse of Marvin and wondered if he was okay. He thought, if that man passes back through here, I'm going to try and reach out to him. Marvin took a few minutes to compose himself before turning for home. It felt good to let out the emotion he had held inside. He looked out over the water, capturing the scenery in his mind. Colors from the sunrise started to touch the clouds in the sky and reached across the water to the pier. It was a beautiful painting at this moment, with highlighted colors coming from behind the mountains. He was reminded of the scenery seen in the magazines. I'm going to miss this place, he thought. As he gazed into the water, he caught glimpses of human forms looking back at him. They were slightly distorted by the soft waves, yet it was uncanny how the figures appeared almost real. He stood there pondering what he saw for a few minutes. It looked as if they were beating on the waves, trying to get through to the other side. That doesn't make any sense, and no one needs to know, he thought. Taking a few deep breaths, he turned to go home. An entity from another dimension stood in front of Marvin. He tried to communicate with him. Seeing the hurt Marvin carried, he wanted him to know everything was going to be okay. This entity would be his partner, his ally. Marvin couldn't see him, but the spirit being could see Marvin. He knew the potential future that was ahead, as well as Marvin's past. This entity could call on others if Marvin asked for help. Marvin couldn't hear this entity, yet this being had been ordered to stay close by Marvin, keeping an eye out for any danger. His name was Michael. Chapter 3. Marvin walked right through Michael as he moved towards the butcher shop. Marvin was feeling drawn to the shop, and Michael was behind the emotion. Michael's assignment was to help bring wholeness to Marvin, and right now he knew Billy was the best connection to reach him. Michael had allies who assisted with other assignments. He had his favorites, and he was pleased that Ray had been assigned to help him connect Billy to Marvin. Just as Michael was there to assist Marvin, so Ray could give an impression to Billy that would further assist Marvin. At this moment, Michael and Ray's presence could be felt by both Billy and Marvin, and their human spirits were drawn together in a way neither of them could explain. Billy saw Marvin coming and was prompted by Ray to reach out to him. Billy thought, I have some breakfast meat I can give him. Giving unexpected gifts is an easy way to show you care. He was sure this would open a way to connect with the man that may lead to a friendship. Billy was about 25 years older than Marvin. He had experienced adventures and heartaches in his own life, making him sensitive to those around him. Billy had lost his father in war, so he knew what loss felt like. Even when his father was home, he distanced himself emotionally because of the trauma he had experienced in battle. Billy's entire family felt the pain of his father's brokenness. Watching Marvin gave him a sense that he may have a similar experience, and they might need to connect. Billy found the perfect slab of bacon and got it ready to hand to Marvin. Butcher's paper was nearby, making it easy to wrap. He finished it off with a piece of twine which held it all together. Pausing for a moment, he gave a few seconds to center himself before approaching Marvin. Marvin placed one foot in front of the other with steady speed as he left the dock. He caught sight of the butcher off to the right, moving towards him, and he wondered what this man was doing. Billy stepped into Marvin's space with the wrapped slab of bacon in hand. "Excuse me, I want to give you something," Billy said respectfully. Marvin slowed his steps, making it easier to stop. The butcher had caught him off guard a bit, but he thought, this man looks friendly. I wonder what he has in his hand. Billy extended his free hand and said, "Good morning. My name is Billy. I'm the town's butcher. I noticed you were out for an early run, and I wanted to give you something. I thought maybe you would enjoy some bacon." He handed the bacon to Marvin and was quickly met with, "I don't have any money on me to pay for this." Billy responded, "I'm not asking you for money. I just felt like I needed to do something nice for you and your family. You do have a family around here, don't you?" he asked. "I do, sir. We have a few more days together before I deploy. My wife will enjoy this gift as much as I will. Thank you for your generosity. My name is Marvin, by the way," he shared. He thought this timely gift could be a part of a good memory he could give to his family. Billy realized that he had been correct. They did share a connection. It was the military. He could relate to the emotions this family was feeling, and he had been there. Well, this couldn't go to a more deserving person than someone who is serving his country abroad. "Thank you for what you do for our country, Marvin," Billy said sincerely. Marvin wasn't sure how to respond. Thank you was all he could thing to say, but it felt insignificant in the grand scheme of things. "Thank you, sir," he said humbly. "Listen, if you would like, my wife and I could stop by while you are deployed to check on your family for you," Billy offered. Even though Marvin didn't know Billy, he felt drawn to him and caught himself thinking how nice that would be. Michael was standing nearby, helping to prompt emotions of peace with Billy's request. Marvin found himself saying, "That would mean a lot to me, sir." Marvin was a bit surprised by his spontaneous response, but he felt an unexplained brotherhood with Billy and was thankful for this new friendship. "Maybe we can stop by for a quick visit before you leave," Billy suggested. "Yes, sir. I'll come by tomorrow and we can set a time for you to visit before I have to go." Marvin felt like he had been given many good gifts today. "Thank you again, Billy, sir." With bacon in hand and a smile on his face, Marvin saluted Billy and began to jog home. Soon he quickened his steps with a brisk run, excited to surprise his wife with bacon and a story of new friends. Yet the faces in the water lingered with Marvin, and he pondered them as he headed home. Chapter 4. Darkness reigned here. The ebb and flow of the waves brushed against the ship. They were soft, gentle movements within the water, signaling that the storm had ceased. Shock held the man on the ship motionless. The reality of his situation was setting in, alerting his senses that he was chained to the spot. Trying to keep himself hidden, he drew closer into the bow of the ship. The morning would soon be here. Any damage to the ship could be assessed when the sunlight replaced darkness. In the meantime, there was silence except for the gentle waves lapping against the ship. The man heard a soft whimper in the darkness. The unknown of what was around him kept him silent. "Is anybody there?" a voice cried. "Am I alone? Is anybody there?" The whimpering turned into cries of panic. "Please, if you are out there, answer me." He let a few moments pass, yet the persistence of the distressed man pressed him to speak. "I am here, and you are not alone," he said cautiously. Relieved by the unexpected response, the whimpering voice exclaimed, "Thank God someone else is here. What happened, and can you tell me why we are here?" It was a strong storm. Not really knowing why they were there in this place or what to say, the man avoided the question and asked one of his own. "What's your name?" he asked. "My name is Peter. What's yours?" the whimpering voice asked in return. "Peter, it's nice to meet you," he said, neatly sidestepping Peter's question again. "I am sure we will be out of here soon. Just need to wait until we have a bit more light," he said with false confidence. He didn't feel like sharing his name. He didn't mind helping this guy, but he didn't want it to be personal. Besides, he wasn't feeling too well, and from what he could tell, his ankle seemed to be chained. He didn't remember why this happened. Maybe he hit his head or something, causing a memory loss. Either way, he wasn't about to share his name. He didn't seem to remember it anyway. Marvin made it back to his home. He was excited to share the gift from the butcher. He loved bacon, and he knew his wife would be excited about this gift too. Marvin thought to himself, I need to be quiet. He wasn't sure if anyone was up, and he wanted to surprise them. He took off his boots, coat, and gloves. All remained silent in his home. They are going to love this surprise, Marvin thought. He went straight to the kitchen, reached for a pan, turned on the stove top, and opened the bacon. Before long, the smell of frying bacon filled the house. Can't forget the coffee, he said to himself. His wife enjoyed a good cup of coffee, and he wanted her to feel special today. Soon he would have to leave, and he desired to create happy, fulfilling memories that could hold her while he was away. His wife awoke to her senses being filled with two of her favorite things, bacon and coffee. She quickly dressed and moved down the hallway to the delicious aromas. Marvin, what did you do? She asked teasingly. Marvin smiled at his wife's response and said, The butcher approached me while I was on my run and gave us breakfast. I told him you were going to be really surprised. As Shelley threw her arms around him, she declared, I have such a thoughtful husband. Thank you for making this for us. I love you. I love you too, Shelley, Marvin said affectionately to his wife. Chapter 5. Marvin stood looking out the window at the falling snow. The whole area was now blanketed in white. His children were playing in a nearby room. His wife came behind him and slipped her arms around his waist. Marvin felt reassured that his wife supported him. He thought to himself, She still loves me. It'll be all right. She held him close and tightly, as if she would never let him go. She understood that the war had shifted the man she once knew. She noticed the emotional peaks that grew stronger with each visit. She longed for the man she once knew to find himself again. Her hug was a way of supporting him the best she could with her love. She held him, knowing that their time together was growing shorter. Billy the butcher would be arriving soon. Marvin looked forward to seeing him again and considered the instant bond he felt with Billy. It gave him peace to know that someone so kind would be watching over his family while he was away. Billy pulled in front of Marvin's home and came around to the passenger side door to help his wife out. As his wife got out of the truck, Billy grabbed a box from the back, and then he and his wife headed towards Marvin's home. Marvin opened the door before Billy had a chance to knock. Billy, it is so nice to see you and your wife. We have been looking forward to your visit. Please, come in, Marvin said. Everyone in the house came out to meet and welcome Billy and his wife. Shelley, this is Billy, and so sorry, I don't remember your wife's name. Marvin extended his hand to her. Billy replied quickly, Oh, please forgive me. This is my bride of 30 years, Barbara. Marvin shook Barbara's hand, saying, It is so nice to meet you. You have a husband filled with compassion and honor. This is my wife, Shelley, and these are my children, Steve and Marjorie. Marvin introduced them in turn. After the introductions, along with a bit of small talk, everyone felt quite acquainted and at ease. Billy and Barbara were wonderful people who seemed to connect well with Shelley and the kids. Marvin had a sense of relief and peace with this new connection. making the prospect of his upcoming deployment seem easier. Billy had set a box near the front door as a gift for the family. After the formal introductions, Billy picked the box up and handed it to Marvin, saying, "This is for you and your family. Just wanted to bring you a little something. You've already given me bacon and the gift of your time and friendship. This was unnecessary, sir," Marvin said. Billy quickly replied, "We wanted to share a little bit of what we had with you." "I thank you, sir," Marvin responded. Marvin opened the box, noticing on top was a letter. He took out the letter and placed it aside. Looking at Billy, he said, "I thank you, sir. I'll open this later." Under the letter was a brown wrapping paper covering puzzles for the kids, a bell for a bike, and another package in brown wrapping paper. Marvin handed the package to his wife. She unwrapped it, finding a hand-knit pair of gloves, scarf, and hat. "I know this isn't much," Billy said, "but we want to bring you a few things from our home to yours. If you're ever out riding your bikes, use the bell to ring and shout, 'Hello!' The puzzles are for you to enjoy together, and the scarf set my wife made for you. The letter is for you, Marvin. You can read it at your leisure." "Oh, thank you for your generosity and all you do. The bacon was enough. This is more than you should have done. Thank you," Marvin said. Their time together was sweet, filled with genuine camaraderie, creating a solid foundation of trust between the two families. In the short time they were together, they became family. The hugs and the goodbyes were sincere and emotional as Billy and Barbara headed to the truck. Soon the children were off to bed, and Marvin took the time to pack for his deployment the next day. Tears were felt, and the "I'll see you soons" were hard. But the time had come for Marvin to do what he was designed to do: defend his country. Chapter 6. Glimmers of sunlight began to touch the ship, allowing the man in the bow to see more of his surroundings. He had been up most of the night trying to find anything that would jog his memory. His recall seemed to be absent, and that terrified him. He watched the crew move around and talk among themselves about the duties for the day. Did he have a place on the ship? Could they even see me, he wondered. "Excuse me," he said often, trying to address those passing by. There was no response. "I must be having a nightmare," he thought. "There is no way this could be real," he tried reasoning with himself while anxiety welled up within him. He looked at the chains on his ankle and began to question, "Am I being held captive?" A large demonic guard walked towards him with a paper. He wore military armor made of steel, including a helmet and a sword on his belt. All that could be seen of his face were two red eyes. His appearance was quite intimidating. The man's heartbeat quickened. Panic went through every part of his senses. He was experiencing a moment of terror. The demonic guard stood in front of the man on the ship and declared, "Your name here is Bud. You belong to us. You are tied here in this land without hope of release. This contract is a bill of sale that cannot be broken. You will be used to further our cause." Surely this must be a dream or a hallucination. He hadn't done anything wrong. As he opened his mouth to speak, nothing came out. This realm had silenced him. He looked closely at the guard, realizing this figure was not human. It was more of a beast. He believed this had to be a horrible vision until a small figure behind the guard approached him and touched him, giving him severe pain. All the senses in his body were electrified, causing immediate physical paralysis. He also felt as if he was being submerged in water, and it was vividly real. His experienced flashes of death and drowning, only to awaken again on the ship, but still unable to breathe. To regain his breath, he experienced intense, uncontrollable fits of coughing. This felt very real to Bud. With laughter coming from the beast, a deep sense of humiliation overtook him, and despair blanketed every part of him. From this point on, humiliation, pain, and death would frequently remind Bud that he was in a place of torment. In between his cries of pain, other cries for help could be heard, which revealed he was not alone in this twisted place. The waves of the water could be heard against the bow of the ship as it rocked from side to side. A mountain could be seen in the distance. Even though the captives on the ship felt the absence of hope, help was near if it could find a way into their realm. People bustled on the shore. It appeared to be a merchant docking site where goods and services could be exchanged. The mountain's edge rested close to the shoreline, creating a wall that hid any civilization that might be seen from the ship. A staircase had been erected on the side of the mountain, allowing passage from the beach to the mountain top. Basic manual pulley systems, elevators had been fashioned, allowing heavy loads of supplies to move up and down with ease. An arch formed a bridge from the right side of the mountain over the water, connecting a nearby island that was suspended in the air. Looking at the scene, it would be easy to imagine that a strong storm bore a hole in the side of the mountain, creating this bridge between the two land masses. There seemed to be people actively moving back and forth over this natural bridge. All of this seemed within reach of the hostages on the ship, giving them dreams of hope and freedom. Chapter 7. Marvin stood in the doorway with his bags packed, wishing many things could be different. His family walked with him to the sidewalk in front of his home. This visit home had created a mix of memories that would remain with them until the next time. Silently, Marvin was hoping there was enough good memories to outweigh the bad. There were elements of deep sadness here, but each of them was being brave, pushing their heartache deep inside. Billy and Barbara joined Marvin and his families to say their goodbyes. Barbara planned to spend the morning with Shelley, hoping to deepen their friendship that had already developed. The kids truly enjoyed her company, and it did lessen the load with the morning routine for Shelley. Shelley was thankful for her. Billy desired to strengthen his relationship with Marvin. Marvin, I promise you that my wife and I will be here for your family. If anything comes up, we will have their backs. Also, if you need anything, please contact us. We would be honored to help you. Billy had taken the time to write his phone number on a card. He handed it to Marvin and said, "Put this in a safe place." Marvin placed it inside his wallet. "Thank you for everything you have done and are doing for us, Billy, sir. We appreciate you and are thankful for you," Marvin said warmly. Upon arrival at the port, Billy helped get Marvin's items out of the trunk. They shook hands and thanked each other once again. Marvin said to Billy, "I took your note to read on the trip. I figured it would be a good reading while I am feeling a little homesick." Billy smiled and said, "Sounds like it's a good idea to me. Now be safe. We look forward to seeing you real soon." Marvin carried his bags up the gangplank to the quarterdeck, saluted the flag and the officer on duty. With ID in hand while still saluting, he asked permission to board the ship. The officer on deck returned the salute and granted permission for Marvin to come aboard. He was greeted with nods and smiles as he walked by his fellow shipmates. These people were his second family. Each one here could feel a sense of loss as they took their places on the ship. Even though they felt like family, the ones left behind held their hearts. Marvin headed left to his cabin. No one had claimed a bunk in his cabin yet, so he quickly chose the one which suited him best, the bottom bunk. He needed to report for duties, but before he did, he would put his gear away. There was a locker nearby that held most of his items. The rest fit neatly in compartments beneath the mattress. As he was finished, he observed a key laying in one of the compartments. He picked it up and thought that it appeared odd. The key felt heavy, but at the same time seemed basic. His instinct was to throw it away, yet something prompted him to leave it where he had found it. If nothing else, maybe it was left here by someone else and they would return to get it, he thought. He quickly finished up and reported for duty. The Son of Man assigned Michael to guide Marvin. He had been strategically aligning the times for restoration. Marvin was not consciously aware of it, but with each of his deployments, a fracture was created in his life. Michael had been assigned to help restore those fractures and bring wholeness for this generation and the generations to come. There were kingdom establishments to be created that would bring restoration to those generations for a future legacy. Chapter 8. Back at the mountains, the workers were diligently completing the tasks as they were designed to do. Goods were coming in and being distributed throughout the mountains. There was a desire within this community to bring a new generation into their hub, adding to the kingdom which they loved. On top of the mountain stood the One. He kept a ledger of the goods and services arriving at the port. As the goods were taken to the top of the mountain, some would stop and ask the One which direction these goods should be taken. The One would look at his ledger and examine a map, helping to direct the placement of resources. This area would be established as a center for developing the gifts of those who came to this region. The One saw Bud and the others on the ship who had been taken captive. He desired to give them freedom, but there were steps that needed to be taken before freedom could be given. A conversation about the captivity of the men on the ship started between the One and those who were in community with him on the mountain. The One said, "There are cries coming to us for help. I know you can hear them, just like I can hear them." Each of you here were held captive in different ways. My desire is that they should be freed as you have been freed. We have all the tools we need. I am asking, are you willing to partner with me in setting them free? Silence met this request. These people had become comfortable in the abundance they had received. There was routine in their daily activities, and familiarity was a friend to them. They knew exactly what each day would bring and were not sure if they wanted to give up the comfortable they had been experiencing. They understood that helping the one would require a sacrifice, and many were not willing to give up their comfort. You have done so much for us. You can set them free. Just bring them here, and then we can help them from here. We are not sure if we want to be in a place of unrest, the people said. The one was disappointed. He would do anything to rescue the lost, but desired to raise others to be his partners in this deliverance. There was so much he had to teach them, especially the strategies to set others free. The one desired a partnership with this community to grow and mature strong warriors who would be able to train others. This could not be taught without going into battle and experiencing the process. He searched for the few that would be willing to take up this challenge to grow deeper with him. There was a lineage that had passed into this realm and lived on this mountain called the King's generations. They heard the cries for help, and like the one desired to see these free. Not all of the king's descendants had the privilege of experiencing the fullness the one spoke about. Previous members of their bloodline had been held captive. Some had been freed and chose this mountain, yet there were others who were still held captive, unable to choose freedom. The cries for help captured the attention of the king's freed generations, calling them to battle. They laid aside their comfort and convenience to sit with the one who would help give guidance to free the one who cried for help on the ship. Bud. If a house is divided against itself, it will fall, the one explained. Each being has several parts to his spirit. When a part is fractured with hurt, then many times that portion of their spirit remains fragmented in that place and time. Because of this, a crippling effect happens for the generations to come. They may know and understand the calling that is theirs to claim, but are unable to seize the design they were created to have, because a piece remains apart from the whole. I want to teach you how to find the missing, splintered pieces. The king's generations remained attentive as the one taught. Many felt the depths of his teachings pushing them out of their comfort zones, yet they accepted the instruction in freedom for the sake of their bloodline. They chose to partner with the one and to focus their efforts to help free Bud and the captives on the ship. Chapter 9. The question remained, just how did Bud get stuck on the ship? A scene appeared from the one, revealing the fragmentation process of one of the many layers making up a man. The generations in training watched as the story unfolded before them. The air had shifted, alerting everyone to an upcoming storm. Preparations were being made on the ship to secure loose items. The storm was moving faster than they thought, catching them off guard, leaving some to brace against the wind and the rain. A man was isolated and trying to keep himself from being blown overboard. He found a way to anchor himself to the bow. Squatting down, he shielded himself from the elements. The rain and the wind pummeled the ship. The swells in the ocean were deep, causing the ship to toss back and forth. Hunkering down on the bow of the ship was not a wise idea, he thought. He felt as if he would die and lose courage. He abandoned hope and trust that day, leaving an open door to fear. With fear comes other components, which over time takes up residence in the mind, locking away pieces of a person's identity. It can hold them captive, leaving them a victim rather than an overcomer. A piece of this man never left the ship that day. It remained locked in that place, a prisoner to the demonic guard who renamed this fragment Bud. If this piece was returned, and he was made whole again, strongholds would crumble, and generations to come would reap the benefit of this release. Billy checked in on Marvin's family often. Barbara chose one day a week to help with grocery shopping and ironing or whatever else was needed to help Shelley. Billy chose another day to mow the lawn and perform any home repairs that were needed. They felt like family and looked forward to seeing each other. Billy took to mentoring Steve. Each time he visited, he wanted to do something memorable with Steve. Sometimes they would mow the lawn together. Other times they would tune Mom's car, or they would go fishing, which was Steve's favorite thing to do. He and Billy enjoyed their fishing expeditions. Steve's mom would pack a lunch so they could go all day if they wanted to. They shared many heart-to-heart talks by the stream. "Billy, do you think my dad is going to come home safe?" Steve broached this question bravely. This was a concern every child had. In Steve's mind, the last time his dad came home, he was so different. Everyone thought he had the perfect family, yet Steve had been picking up on small signs. He seemed harsher and more withdrawn to Steve. It was his dad, so he didn't question his father. He just wasn't sure if he liked how his dad was acting after the last deployment. He wanted his real dad back. Billy wasn't sure what direction Steve was going to take with this discussion, so he responded with a question. "Why?" he countered. "What are you thinking? What's going on in your head, Steve?" Billy hoped Steve could share the root of his concern with him. "I don't know. Dad came home last time, and he just wasn't the same. He's my dad, and I love him. He just seems mean and distant sometimes," Steve replied. "He gets mad at me and my sister and my mom. I tried to tell him not to talk to my mom like that, and he didn't like that. I spent the rest of the day in my room. I didn't even get to eat. He was never like that before. I don't know if I like it when he comes home." Billy sat still, pondering this for a minute. He knew all too well how the war had affected his father. Flashbacks where rage had overtaken his own father passed through his mind. If it weren't for the Creator, and the healing he had brought to his dad, he could have lost his family. Billy had hoped that Marvin was exempt from this unfortunate result of war, but it appeared trauma had found him. Billy's heart sank, and his focus became how to show comfort to Steve. Billy quietly asked the Creator for help with this. Father, he spoke in his spirit to the Creator, you placed this boy here with me for a reason. Help me as I talk with him. The Creator sent angels to Billy's side. Steve, I am so sorry you feel this way. I had times when my dad acted that way toward me too. I loved him so much, but didn't like the way he made me feel sometimes. One day, everything changed with my dad. He got someone to help him with his feelings, which helped with how he reacted to us. I am not sure you know about our Heavenly Father, but He loves you more than you could ever imagine. Everything you say is important to Him. He cares about even the simplest things. He created your dad, and He knows exactly how to help heal his heart. If you want, we can ask Him to meet with your dad and help him with what he's feeling. Would you like to do that with me right now? Steve nodded his head yes. All right, Billy said. Father, our Papa, we know you want each of us to be whole and complete. Help Steve Dad to know and understand how much you love him. Show him where he is stuck and demonstrate how important he is to you. Be with Steve and show him where you are in all of this so that he knows you have never left his side. Protect his heart and comfort him. Amen. Steve thanked him. He found enjoyment in every moment that Billy spent with him. Billy helped to fill a void in his heart and was teaching him what compassion looked like. Chapter 10. Darkness heard the conversation between Steve and Billy, taking great joy in the fact that pain and hurt had been visited upon Marvin's family. It pleased him that there was a new root of bitterness forming in Marvin's son, and that a legacy of hurt was being nurtured in the next generation. Billy, however, presented a problem to this whole situation. They schemed among themselves to keep him distracted so that he would have little time to spend with Marvin's family. Billy had tools that could help set this family free, and that was the last thing darkness wanted for this family to experience. They desired their bondage, not freedom. The One had been teaching the generations who had entered this place about setting captives free. He knew it would take a bit of time. He was willing to partner with them if they were agreeable. Allow me to guide you and teach you. We will move together. You will not be alone. Are you ready to move towards the spirits who cry on the ship? The One asked. Each of the generations experienced different emotions. Some were excited, ready for adventure. Some were cautious, not sure of the unknown. Others trusted and wanted to move just because they were asked. None of them were wrong. Each dealt with the situation differently and in the way they were designed to do. All were willing to try. They stood, shook hands in agreement with the One, and committed themselves to the adventures ahead. They walked into the darkened forest as one unit towards a portal that would transport them from one realm to another. The portal was in the shape of a cross. The sign beside the cross stated, All who enter here are safe. Together they cross through into much heaviness lingering in the atmosphere. As they positioned themselves on the other side, they found themselves in a thunderstorm. Immediately, some began to complain. "We don't like this. It's too hard. I want to go back." No one was being held against their will here. The one had not forced them to come. He replied, "You committed to help me in this place to set generations free. Are you sure you want to go back?" The one challenge to their commitment caused some to experience shame and guilt. Although the one never would cast these emotions on his own, in this state of existence, all emotions were felt. Under the protection of the one in this realm, his love and acceptance attempted to embrace their spirits. However, the conflicting emotions were overwhelming. The feelings of shame and guilt were accompanied by lies. You're not good enough. You let him down. These brave spirits who had chosen to take this journey had no idea the destination would be so full of emotional conflict. They changed their minds, deciding to go back. The one was disappointed in their choice, yet he gave them permission to return to their place of comfort. Many crossed back through the portal, leaving only a small remnant behind. Bud had been relocated to the bottom of the ship and shackled to the floor. He was not alone in this place. Some around him appeared almost dead. Their bodies lacked fat, causing their skin to hang over their bones loosely. Some had injuries that appeared to have been festering for some time. It smelled and looked like death had been here, walking among them. Bud was so confused. He didn't know what had happened to put him in this place. Each of the captives on this ship had their own anchor point, which attached as a leash. They were only allowed to go so far if they tried to move. There was no need for guards. Most had succumbed to this lifestyle and embraced the slavery. Bud was still trying to understand why he was here, or if this was even real. The man in the membrane remained, his face imprinted in the film. He began to sink down. Sitting on the edge of the gateway, looking through the veil, he wondered what kind of cruel joke was being played on him. Chapter 11. Billy and Barbara planned a hike into the woods with Steve and Marjorie. They had grown fond of the kids and treated them as they would their own grandchildren. Shelley welcomed the interaction. The visits seemed to help her children. When they would return after visits, her children were calm and thoughtful. Shelley appreciated Marjorie and the conversations they shared. She was able to confide in her safely about the struggles of being a Navy wife and mom. It helped her to process through her emotions, making her stronger. She was thankful for the new friendships. Darkness had done its homework well. There were places in Shelley's home where darkness had assumed residence. Each of the family had developed a coping mechanisms to ease the pain they experienced. In one area of the home, alcohol called to the pain. In another part, entertainment called. In another, a stash of risque magazines called. In yet another, food called. They were everywhere. No one understood that these strongholds existed. Each could be enjoyed without addiction, but the lure remained. Linger just a little longer, it beckoned. It's innocent, and a little longer won't hurt anyone, it comforted. Before they realized what had happened, it became the thing that attempted to fill the void within. It gave a sense of security and false identity. The appearance of innocence was nothing but a huge hook, reeling them in to linger longer than they had ever anticipated. These comfort items followed the injury wherever they went. They were the familiar things that called out in times of need. Comfort items were near to help manipulate the pain they felt inside. Being busy helped. But in those down times when the mind could run free, it reached for the familiar to reconnect. The lure with the device would make sure that its grip remained. Bud seemed to have some of the same addictions that many on the other side had, and they called to comfort him. He longed for a drink, and he knew if he could have some alcohol, things would feel right again. There were times he longed for a peek at a magazine to catch that sweet thing that made him feel young again. Here in this dark place, there was only loneliness. Bud hungered for more and longed to be satisfied. The one knew Bud was there. He knew the journey that needed to happen before they could meet. His remnant had been assembled to facilitate Bud's healing. A door opened. The one walked through. The remnant followed. The fishing trip was exactly what the family needed. Shelley decided to join them, making the event a complete family experience. The kids laid aside some of the heaviness they had been feeling, making it easy to run and play. Shelley and Barbara laughed, comparing the different examples of each of their child-rearing days. Billy fished. He enjoyed hearing the laughter among the family. Soon it would be time to head home, and the day would come to an end. This moment had been everything he had hoped it would be. Laughter, connection, no distractions, and the joy of each other's company. He was building a foundation of trust and friendship with the family that had been placed before him. Maybe one day we can build a cabin here and start a tradition, he thought. Chapter 12. The One and the Remnant opened the door which stood before them. The One entered first, leading the way. His presence carried a glow, pushing the darkness aside. The walls were shaped like a cylinder tunnel and had an organic feel. This corridor was tight, causing them to walk in single file. The One turned and handed each a lantern. "Keep up with me," he said, "and if by chance you lose your way, this should help you see where you are. Hold it close and don't let the light go out." This was a strange request, but each of the remnant was thankful that the One had their best interests at heart. The passageway opened into a circular area that seemed to go deep into the ground. Each stood with the One and waited to see where the journey would take them. This area smelled moist and felt damp. Even though the One illuminated most of the area around himself, there were many shadows here in this place. The area appeared to be large, about a block in circumference. The remnant had no idea where the One was going, but They were committed until the end. The one started climbing down a stairwell that only he could have found. There was no way the remnant could have seen it, but the one knew exactly where it was. He had the clues and was a wise guide. The smell of moisture intensified as they made their way down. Occasionally, a shadow, which appeared live and unnatural, could be seen moving near the group. The one was not alarmed by any of the changes around him. It was as if he knew exactly what to expect and how to respond. The light he carried within himself kept the darkness at bay. The sound of the water brushing up against a shore or an object of some kind could be heard. They were nearing their destination. The glimmer of light from the one shone on the dark waters and soft waves. Marvin awoke to alarm sounding through the ship. There was so much movement happening in that moment. Marvin was experiencing a rush of emotions. I have been trained for this, he thought. He realized that the ship was under fire. Exploding bombs could be heard in the distance, intermixed with artillery whizzing through the atmosphere. He wasn't quite sure where he was needed the most and wondered why he hadn't been awakened. Did I sleep through an alarm? Did everybody leave me behind? I don't know what protocol wasn't followed, and how did I miss this? Questions ran through him at lightning speed as he tried to determine what was going on. Quickly, he got dressed, opened the cabin door, and found steam filling the hallway. There was evidence of water on the floor as his hurried footsteps created a splash. He was experiencing emotions of terror, yet training had taught him to overcome his feelings in moments like these. As he climbed the stairs to the deck, he realized that it was a full-blown battle. Again, his thought was, how did I sleep through this? Debris could be seen in the water. The noise of ammunition and the planes became deafening. He did what he was trained to do, and that wasn't enough. Marvin found himself lying on the deck, unable to move. It was hard to know if it was a bullet or a fragment of debris from the destruction of the ship. All he knew was a piece of shrapnel had punctured his leg, and he was now paralyzed with shock, traumatized by his injury. One of the other sailors saw Marvin and began dragging him to a nearby bow. "Hold on, I'm going to send someone for you," he said. And that was the last time either of them would see each other. The battle was fierce. The ship was damaged. The battle had been lost. The ship had sustained enough damage that it began to sink. Marvin was thinking of his family. He saw his children and his wife. He could envision them before him, waving with smiles on their faces. "This is why I chose to fight. It's for you," he said to himself. The ship began to crack, alerting the crew that the ship was not going to be salvageable. "If I can get to a lifeboat," he thought. He heard cries of "Abandoned ship!" ringing through the air. His problem was that he couldn't move. It would take someone picking him up to move him. He heard shouts of, "Leave no man behind." Two crewmen saw Marvin and dragged him off the deck to the lifeboat. Within a few minutes, the lifeboat dropped into the water. The abrupt landing jarred Marvin, and pain caused him to lose consciousness. Even though they were off of the ship, There was no guarantee of safety. The enemy was still about and posed a serious threat. The ebb and flow of the water rhythmically brushing the edges of the lifeboat could be heard as Marvin remained unconscious. Chapter 13. The one reached the edge of the stairs towards the bottom and surveyed the water, searching for something. "We need to retrieve an essential piece," he said. He extended his hand into the water, retrieving a key and an envelope. "We will need this key for a present generation. This key will eventually need to be exchanged between generations that will soon be connected through adoption. Both generational lines will require this key in the future. Sometimes darkness steals away a blessing you are meant to have," the one continued. It had been the plan of darkness to have the key lost forever, hidden in the depths of the sinking ship. There was a point where this key was misplaced, allowing it to be hidden. "We will restore the key back to the proper generational line," the one explained. The remnant was reminded of what had transpired in previous years. They remembered how Jennifer and Henry had broke the curse at the well and held the key. They remembered how the Waymaker had asked Jennifer to hold the key for the next generation. This key contained the generational DNA that had been reserved by the Creator for this line. Because of the previous choices of the generations, this genetic code had not been released to them yet. The Creator had held this key, and at strategic points in time, it was to be released in this generational line, giving understanding, tools, and the ability to connect with the wholeness the Creator had desired to give this line. Using this key in connection with the Creator's design brought the genetic pieces that had been withheld from this line. Darkness had managed to hide it for a while, but the covenant between the Waymaker, Jennifer, and Henry's line remained true. The one remembered and was bound to the covenant. Knowing where the key had been hidden, he was there to deliver the source back to the generations. The one gripped the key, knowing that it was an important part. He smiled at the remnant and turned to the water. "There are those here who need our help." A small boat appeared, and the one stepped on board. The remnant joined, and the one gently launched the boat out from the steps. The remnant noted faces in the water. It appeared many had lost their hope. Some had their hands up looking for help. The one reached out, touched their hand, and the soul was received into the boat. Each one that joined caused the boat to enlarge. There was more than enough room to receive all who were rescued. The one looked at the remnant and smiled. "They join us to go to the other side. I have brought you here not only to teach you, but to train you for war. Your faith will deepen as you partner with me. Face the unknown and dive in with me," the one encouraged them. The remnant was not sure they understood what he said, and they sat looking at him in bewilderment. The one understood their puzzled looks, and smiling, he said, "Reach your hand out and say, 'The one is here.'" A couple of the remnant chose to trust him and followed his example. They stretched out their hands and said, "The one is here." As they chose to speak in faith, a shift was felt. Many in the water joined them in the boat. "You see, you're an extension of me. I am in you, and you in me. You help those who are willing to accept me," he said, pleased. The boat continued to fill until there was none left wanting in this place. This was an experience the remnant would never forget. All who looked to and received the One were rescued and delivered. The boat continued through a tight steam-filled crack in the mountain. Passing through this area, the mist felt like a veil. The sun pierced through this veil brightly. Every part of them, including the souls rescued, were being rewritten by light. They were being reborn. The next vision they had was a brightly lit bay with a ship off to the left and a port area to the right. The boat turned towards the port. After docking, members of the One's Mountain came to welcome the newfound souls. Past the face of the mountain was a valley where mansions awaited each new residence. The members were there to take these souls and show them their new homes. Chapter 14. Marvin lay unconscious in the lifeboat. With the sounds of battle around them, all the members of this boat remained quiet, attempting to stay undiscovered. Night would soon fall, and that would help hide them. They hoped a rescue ship would be sent to help them quickly. While Marvin was unconscious, he dreamed. His eyes opened, trying to gain an understanding of his surroundings. The water gently rocked the boat where he was resting. He remembered getting hurt in battle. Suddenly, he realized that the pain was gone. He pulled himself up, looking outside the boat and across the water. For some reason, he was alone here. The panic he had experienced early was replaced with peace. His eyes caught a glimpse of a man walking towards him on the water. The man smiled at Marvin the closer he got. Marvin was positive he was dreaming and continued to try and make sense out of what he was experiencing. The man reached the boat, climbed inside, and sat beside Marvin. "Marvin," he said warmly, "I was hoping we would meet soon. Do you remember the key you found earlier? Do you still have it?" Marvin thought about the key and wondered where it was. He reached inside his pant pocket to see if by chance he placed it there. His hand felt a metal object. He pulled it out. It was the key. "Not sure how that got there," he thought. The man smiled and said, "I have one too. Do you want to try something?" Marvin was not too sure what he was talking about, but he was open to adventure. Marvin questioned why he seemed to just be willing to follow this man. Yet deep within him, the draw to this man felt like home. "I suppose I'll let you take the lead," he said to the man. "All right, follow me," the man answered. He proceeded to get out of the boat and walk on the water. He didn't sink. He walked on the water. "I don't think I can do that, sir," Marvin shouted to the man. "You haven't tried, so how will you know?" the man said. He walked back to the boat and extended his hand to Marvin. "Take my hand," he instructed. Marvin took the man's hand, and before he knew what had happened, he stood on top of the water with this man. "Try it, Marvin. Take a step." Marvin started taking one step at a time with the man, and soon they were walking in cadence. The man started laughing and said, "Come on, let's speed up." They both started running in step together. There was no way this could be possible, yet it felt incredible. This was a moment he had questioned often. What would it be like to walk on water? What would it feel like to defy gravity? This moment released power into Marvin's being, giving him the feeling of invincibility. They traveled on top of the water to a nearby island. From a distance, the island appeared to be covered with vegetation, but the closer they got, the vegetation receded, revealing a beach area. This cleared area contained a small unlit campfire with a woman standing nearby, waving at them. This entire experience took him out of his element, and Marvin enjoyed it thoroughly. Darkness was aware a plan had been set in motion. Marvin's bloodline contained important future events that Darkness wanted to thwart. Darkness knew of the adoption of Anaya into the family line. He knew if she were never adopted, the chances of her freedom from this grip would be small. They had heard the plans of the Creator in the courts and knew the purposes of the Creator to bring heaven to earth through this line. This family line was destined to be kingdom warriors with healing both in the natural and the spiritual. There were unique giftings the Creator could release, allowing an unlocking of many who had been crippled by darkness and his plan. If this point in time could be altered, it would affect many in the years to come. Darkness knew the one had a key, and he knew that Marvin had the other. Those keys were for both generations, the future lines of Anaya and the king. Maybe if Marvin was killed in this place, all of that could be stopped. The war was a perfect place to put this plan in action. Darkness directed the bombs and ammunition close to Marvin's boat, attempting to obliterate it. Darkness was unable to achieve its goal. Someone was praying at this moment, disrupting his plan. The prayer of a child could be heard in the heavens. If you can hear me, my dad is out there in the middle of nowhere. I don't know what he's doing, but I miss him. Please keep him safe. Please bring him home to us. Please bring him home, not as mean as he used to be. Make my daddy's heart whole again, Jesus. Amen. The Creator holds children in a very special place in his heart. Their prayers are heard and effective. Angels were sent to stand with Michael at this time to shield Marvin. The ammunition couldn't come close to Marvin. A child's prayer changed everything. Chapter 15. The one watched as the captives who were freed went to the mansions beyond the mountains. Their journeys would be filled with restoration and renewal. The joy that awaited them brought tears to the one's eyes. Thank you for delivering these, Father, he said. I love you. The father stood on the shore waving to the one. His laugh could be heard in the atmosphere, and the joy in this place filled all things. The one knew he needed to leave again, but chose in this moment to rest in this emotion of complete fullness. He had a good father, and the one's heart was to serve him. I love you too, son, the father replied. With that, the son departed for the next phase in rescuing Marvin. The one journeyed back to the ship with a small remnant. There were others who had been stuck on the bow. The one could see Bud curled up, waiting. He could see another pressing into the veil, trying to get to the other side. He knew Bud was being tormented between the depths and the bow. He understood that there might be more than just these two fragments waiting for rescue. The one set sail towards the ship to liberate the ensnared souls. He knew it would take Marvin to unlock these pieces because he had the key. The one wanted to introduce himself to Marvin slowly and appeared as a man in Marvin's dream. Together, in this dream state, they were still running on the water and were fast approaching this intersection of rescue. Darkness was aware his time was short in this place and scurried to create distractions aimed at causing doubt. Marvin arrived on the shore with a man. That was so much fun. I can't believe we just did that, Marvin said excitedly. Promise me we can do that again. He was experiencing life to its fullest for the first time. His hunger for more had been awakened, and laughter filled the air. The man reassured him, "More is coming, I can promise you that." The woman smiled and waved, inviting Marvin and the man to join her. They walked through the sand, joining her. The woman said, "Marvin, it's so nice to finally meet you. We knew this time would come and are excited for the opportunities available to you." Even though Marvin should have been questioning what this woman was saying, everything felt normal. He understood, and there was no reason to question her. In the natural world, he would have had a million questions trying to figure it all out. The woman smiled at him and said, "I am a legislator here. I bring papers to you, and we discuss the vows and commitments that have already been put in motion. As we progress, we might call in others to stand with us. But for now, we will start with what I have been given for you. Marvin, you and your generations were created to bring wholeness to the earth realm. Your generational line is meant to heal and restore what has been broken and wounded. Darkness has known these plans and purposes for you and has created places to trip you up. This has given him access to areas where he could damage you and keep you from fulfilling your destiny." Marvin's head was beginning to spin. He understood what she was saying and hoped that no one would know where he had fallen short. He felt the areas where he had messed up should remain buried where they belonged. He was concerned that someone would point a finger at his sins. He looked to the man and said, "You said this was going to be fun." The man responded, "I said an adventure. You assumed fun. It could be both. We had fun, and now this will be freeing if you choose to walk through it." Marvin understood much in this place. He still had a free will. He could still choose his next steps, and he wasn't too sure what he wanted to do. The man saw his dilemma and asked him, "Will you allow me to show you something?" A man-like figure materialized before them with clothes that shone. In fact, every part of him glowed with a golden hue. Many thoughts went through Marvin. What's going on? He wondered. Who are these beings, and why do they seem to want to be involved in my life? As the questions went through him, he could hear answers within himself. Even though hearing the answers should have created more questions, it didn't. Here in this realm with the man, the answers brought him peace. He understood that the glowing man-like figure was an angel, and the woman by the fire was a judge. Marvin saw the angel standing close to the woman, holding the book. "Marvin, I have your destiny right here. This was written before you were born. "If you will permit me, I can show you what I see," the man said. Marvin breathed deeply and thought, if this man has answers to what my purpose in life is, maybe I should listen to him. Chapter 16. It was Wednesday, and Shelley's children were in school. She took this opportunity to clean and organize her home. After a busy weekend, her home tended to get a bit unorganized. Keeping ahead of the day, she decided to take this time to prepare for dinner. She thought about Marvin often while he was away and wondered how he was. She dusted the liquor cabinet and could picture him getting a glass of whiskey. His favorites were within this cabinet, waiting for him to return. The truth was, she didn't like him drinking. He didn't know when to stop. She had more bad memories than good when he drank whiskey. It seemed to bring out the anger in him. She remembered times when she would send the kids to bed because Marvin was out of control, and she knew the sound of their arguments would carry throughout the house. If she could throw this cabinet away, she would, but she knew that would cause other problems. There were other hidden things he kept from her that seemed to be an escape for him, but the alcohol didn't affect just her. It hurt her kids. They had tried to rescue her several times, only to receive his wrath. She loved him, though. She married him for better or worse, and didn't want to give up on him no matter what. While she was deep in thought, a knock came at her door. 2 military officers stood in front of her. Every nerve in her body went to alert, and she felt her body going into shock. "Hello, officers. How may I help you?" "Ma'am," they said as they removed their hats, showing respect. "May we come and sit and speak with you?" the officer asked. Shelley stepped back, giving them room to enter. Trying to contain the fear she was experiencing, she quietly shut the door behind them. "May we sit for a moment?" the officers asked. Shelley sat on the couch. One of the officers sat near her. She knew this news was not good. Anytime an officer comes to your house like this, he doesn't come to share good news. "Is your husband's name Marvin S. Kings?" they asked. It is," Shelley said apprehensively. "Ma'am, we have some news we must share with you. The ship that Marvin was on was attacked and sunk. We are in the process of looking for survivors. The damage was so severe that we don't believe anyone could have survived. We admired your husband and are grateful for his service to our country. We wanted to extend to you and your family our heartfelt condolences." The officers said. Shelley's heart sank. She wondered how she would tell the kids. She wondered how he died. She wondered many questions as they all spun around in her mind. She sat on the couch in shock, numb, tears running down her face, trying to make sense of what she had just heard. The officers continued. "We don't think you should be alone at this time. Is there anyone we can contact for you?" the officers asked. Billy and Barbara came to mind. They had become good friends to their family and would be able to help her in this time of distress. Through her shaking voice, she whispered, "Billy and his wife Our good friends. Here's their address." She couldn't say much. Sobbing was the only thing she had to offer. Shelley handed Billy's address to the officers so they could speak directly with them. One of the officers left to retrieve Billy so that Shelley would not be alone. The other stayed and tried to comfort Shelley the best he could. Time had no meaning for Shelley as she was lost in her grief. Barbara soon arrived with Billy to support Shelley. They both knew the kids would be out of school soon and wanted to be available to help in any way possible. The Creator had already planned for the future events of Shelley's life, preparing in advance relationships that would help her through this loss. So much love and care comes from the Creator in so many ways. Darkness enjoyed hurt and loss. There were so many opportunities for Darkness and his voices to be embraced. Voices blaming each other, blaming the government, blaming themselves, voices of judgment endlessly circling the what ifs. I could have, and it's all my fault. Emotions of anger and bitterness towards the Creator were presented to the wounded. The demonic realm, allied with Darkness, was taking advantage of this opportunity. Children were the softest and most impressionable. The demonic were releasing questions into the hearts, hoping to forge an opening for emotional damage. Developing strongholds could allow Darkness to stop the plans of the Creator once and for all in this bloodline. All it would take was one untruth to be embraced in secret, and a device could be planted by Darkness. Over time, the device would turn into a large structure opposing the Creator. We must keep their eyes on us, not on the Creator and His goodness. It is our responsibility to remind them of how bad they hurt and how neglected they are. The focus needs to be on their emotions and how the Creator has let them down, Darkness explained. They knew their job, but Darkness enjoyed hearing himself talk sometimes. He just wanted everybody to know that this was his idea. Many of the demons surrounded each of the family members, speaking deception into their minds. The confusion that was planted caused them to wonder if it was the Creator speaking to them, or was it Darkness? Billy and Barbara would be the sounding boards for the Creator to help the family through this difficult time. The Creator had another healing scenario already underway with Marvin. He desired this plan to bring comfort and restoration to Shelley and her children's hearts. Chapter 17. Marvin, the man, and the woman sat around the unlit campfire. The woman glanced through the pages of her book, making Marvin curious. This was not the same book he had earlier. The Book of Destiny was resting on the table behind her. This book was black and large. The struggle inside his mind was intense for him, like a battle of indecision alternating between it'll be okay and it'll be bad. The man was waiting for permission to show Marvin what he had. When Marvin looked into the man's eyes, he felt his acceptance. Marvin felt like this man knew secrets that could hurt him. However, his care for Marvin was evident, and he was confident this man sincerely wanted to help him. He was the kind of man you could tell a secret to and know your feelings were safe with him. Marvin's guard dropped, and he said, "Yes, you can show me." The man extended his hand and Marvin took it. Marvin found himself walking on soft white pads, and with that realization, he exclaimed, "Clouds! We're walking on clouds!" At each point, when his foot stepped forward, a cloud supported him. This continued as they proceeded towards the top of a cliff. The last step was onto the edge of the cliff, revealing a mountain behind. Marvin could see the lifts that transported the goods and services up and down the side of this cliff. He watched people gather the supplies to be distributed. All who were here in this place seemed happy and content. There was no need for war or strife. This was a peaceful, quiet place. The man walked to a stone seat where another sat. The other, who was sitting, stood as the man came near and said, "Son, it is so good to see you. Welcome home." Marvin stood back several feet. He felt undone and for some reason unclean. He really didn't understand what was happening. He just felt that he didn't belong. Acting out of instinct, Marvin dropped to the ground and wept. "I shouldn't be here," he cried. "Please take me back." Instinctively, something happened inside of him. He knew and understood that this place was holy, and he was far from holy. The man turned and said, "We would like it if you were able to live here with us. You see, the woman with the book will help you transition to this place." "Are you ready to go back and see the book?" the man asked. "Yes," Marvin replied. "Anything to get back to this familiar place." That feeling of being undone lingered for quite a while. The atmosphere felt heavy as they sat around the unlit fire. The woman held the black book and said, "There are things in here that you must see." She handed the book to the man, and the man handed it in turn to Marvin. Marvin took a deep breath and opened the book. He saw many things he had done that were private to him, things done in secret that no one should have seen. This book was full of incidents he either had forgotten or desired to keep hidden. He felt sick to his stomach, and at this revelation and his newfound understanding caused intense nausea, expelling the contents of his stomach. The thing that was hitting him the hardest was how he treated his family. He saw the times his addictions formed a way for demons to besiege his family. He saw how the demons had used him to attack the ones he loved, and saw the scars caused by his choices. He saw how his son had been praying for his dad to be made whole. He was overcome with sadness. Everything he had ever done was in this book. Even though he thought he was pretty good, he realized just how far he had fallen short. He looked at the man and asked, "What am I supposed to do with this mess? And how did you get this?" "I knew you before you were born. You were here with us. You were sent on a mission, and your life was recorded. It is nearly impossible to live in that place without me. When I am not in you, everything you do is tainted with darkness. The question is, what do you want from here?" Marvin was saturated with emotions of guilt and condemnation. "I am so bad. I don't deserve anything," he said. "Marvin, I have loved you with an everlasting love. I assumed the mantle of death and offered myself as a sacrifice for your transgressions. I took all the punishment and all the pain, including yours, so that you could be free, the man said. As the man spoke, Marvin's eyes were opened. Earlier, Marvin had felt the friendship and love from this man. They ran over the water together and did life together in this place. Marvin recognized the love he had for him, and it gave him hope. This man had given himself so that Marvin could be forgiven. The man took Marvin's hand, showing him visions of the death he experienced for Marvin's freedom. He showed Marvin how death had been conquered and shared how all who believe in him are saved from a terrible, eternal fate of fear and torture. He showed him that because of his sacrifice, Marvin was able to receive his free gift of life and live forever with him. Marvin spoke. I understand. This moment hit him hard. He wasn't sure how to respond. With voice cracking, he said, Forgive me for the way I have hurt so many. Those words stuck in his throat as he spoke them. He could see the people he had harmed and feel the hurt he gave. These moments made him feel dirty, tarnished. He looked at the man and realized this man knew all of this, yet Marvin still felt his love. Tears filled his eyes. He knew he had hurt this man by making so many poor choices. He stood for a while with his thoughts and emotions. His heart had shifted from shock to sorrow and repentance. Sometimes you have to say the words as an act of your will, and then your heart follows, Marvin heard inside himself. Marvin looked at the man and spoke. Yes, I accept you and all you have sacrificed for me as the way to new life you are showing me. As he said this, the campfire burst into flames. The man asked Marvin for the book, and Marvin handed the book over to the man, and the man said, I will remember your sins no more. Then threw the book into the fire. The woman walked to the man, carrying a purple robe for Marvin. The man said, You are given new garments. The old is passed away, and now you are made new. The man placed the robe on Marvin, saying, Welcome home, Marvin. The book that had been on the table was now in the woman's hands. The title read, Book of Life. Your name is now affixed here forever, and the scroll of your destiny has been brought forward. When you are ready, we can show you your destiny, the woman explained to Marvin. Chapter 18. Marvin's body had been left on the boat with the others. His fellow officers had done their part in getting him to safety. His life was slipping away, even though it had only been a few hours on the boat. In his dream state, he had been with the man for several days. Marvin's family had been mourning and experiencing a deep loss with the news from the officers. They didn't know whether Marvin was alive or not, and prepared for the worst. Their days were spent with Billy and Barbara. Shelley and her children were comforted when they were around. She was so thankful for their friendship. Marvin and the man stood looking at the fire. My fire burns away the dead things so that the new can be seen, the man said. Marvin turned to the man and asked, I don't know if this is possible, but can I see my family and ask them to forgive me? He had been thinking about this for a while, and couldn't hold it in any longer. "We can work something out," the man assured him, smiling at Marvin. The man offered his hand once again, and Marvin placed his hand in the man's. Together, they were transported to Marvin's home. The kitchen island was in the center with bar stools tucked up underneath. Many times from this island, he would look out of the sliding glass door at the view. These pieces felt like home. From this perspective, with the man in his new state, Marvin clearly saw the areas where the demons had held their grip. He saw the liquor cabinet where his old-time favorites were. He saw his other addictions around the house and knew that he needed to share with his family what he had experienced. It was the middle of the night when Marvin and the man appeared in Marvin's home. His family was asleep, so he and the man went to Shelley's room. Marvin sat on Shelley's bed, watching his wife sleep. Because he had been hurt and fractured, his relationships with others had been filtered through this hurt. His actions were erratic with his family, wounding them. The trauma he had experienced caused many fractures within himself, and that was how his feelings filtered through these splintered pieces. They were messy and hurtful towards the ones he had loved. His heart was broken with this thought, and he desired to share with her what he had learned. Shelley rolled over and opened her eyes. She could feel a presence in her room. Not sure of what was going on, she sat up and said, "I've got a gun. You'd better leave here before you get shot." Marvin loved her spunkiness. "I trained her well," he thought. The man allowed Marvin to be seen by Shelley. He appeared real, but she could tell that he was different. He appeared to be glowing. "Marvin? Is that you?" she asked. "Yeah, it is, Shelley. The man has allowed me to visit with you for a minute," Marvin responded. She threw her arms around him and wept. They cried together. It was a beautiful moment for both. After several minutes had passed, Marvin continued, "Shelley, I believe I am not going to be able to come home. My body is hurt badly and I don't think I'll live. The man who is with me has shown me everything I have ever done. He revealed to me a place that I can live. There truly is an afterlife. It is everything we have hoped for and more, Shelley. It is a beautiful place filled with love and peace and even advancement. I am so thankful for this man." There was so much to share, and Marvin wasn't sure if he would get it all out. He knew that this man wouldn't let him miss anything, or at least he hoped. Shelley sat quietly, soaking everything Marvin was sharing with her. He continued as she listened intently. "As the man showed me everything I did, I saw you and the boys, all the times I hurt you. Shelley, I am so sorry. I was not a good husband to you or a good father to our children. Can you forgive me for all the times I hurt you?" he asked with sincerity. Shelley responded, "Oh, Marvin, yes, I can." Tears hadn't stopped flowing from the time he had appeared, and with this new request, they flowed even more. "Shelley," Marvin continued, "I love you and the boys so much. But the man has shown me what he needs me to do, and I have to go to fulfill my destiny. My body is hurt beyond repair, but in him I am new. He has told me that he has a plan for you here also. our boys have a purpose as kingdom warriors. He said that Steve will adopt a young girl named Anaya. He shared that her assignment will be to work with our line in bringing restoration to this generational line. You need to stay here to bring these things to completion on the earth. As for me, I need to go with him so that I can do my part on the other side. The man came to join Shelley and Marvin, placing his hand on both their shoulders. He revealed the truth of what Marvin shared with Shelley. She knew and understood the reason and received the peace she needed to let go of Marvin. Marvin looked at the man and asked, "Can I say goodbye to my children?" The man smiled, and they appeared in his children's rooms. The man allowed a dream to take place where Marvin and his children were able to talk together. The man showed them a place where Daddy would be and the things that he would be doing. Marvin was able to ask for their forgiveness for the hurt he had caused. There were heartfelt moments that would stay with his children for a long time. It would shape Steve for adopting Anaya. It would help form their hearts for stewardship in the kingdom. It was a sweet time of reconciliation and goodbyes. "I will see you soon," Marvin said as he and the man walked back to the fire pit. Shelley and the kids would never forget this moment. The forgiveness and the closure they experienced helped to ease the pain they were feeling. Marvin was ready for the next steps with the man. Chapter 19. As Marvin's body was still resting on the boat, his spirit continued with the man. Soon his body would give up, but until then, there were still a few things left to do. The man desired wholeness for Marvin and knew because of the trauma he had experienced, pieces of his spirit were stuck, unable to move. "Marvin, I want to rescue Bud on the ship. Would you like to help me?" the man asked. Marvin was eager to partner with the man. He was learning and growing, and that excited him. His immediate response was, "You bet, I'm in." This time, the man didn't need to take Marvin's hand. Marvin had learned to move with him freely. It was part of the growing process he was experiencing. Marvin found himself teleporting with the man to the ship in the bay. The remnant joined with them. Marvin saw human spirits who appeared as ghosts walking the ship, carrying out their routines. This ship looked familiar to Marvin, like he had been here before. He had memories of another name as he walked through this ship, and he wondered, is his name Peter? The man took him to the right side of the ship. Looking down, they found a soul chained, trying to get anyone to see him. The man asked, "What's your name?" The spirit replied, "Peter." Marvin was taken aback by this discovery. He had a feeling that a human spirit named Peter would be there, and having that confirmed astounded him. The man asked Peter if he wanted to be free. He handed Marvin a key and said, "You hold the key to this part of the journey." The man said, "We will be back to rescue you. Do you know where Bud is?" The man already knew. He just needed Marvin and the remnant to participate with him. Instead of the man doing tasks for others, he trained them by allowing them to actively join in the experience. Peter knew where Bud was. He was there when they took him away. He responded, "Yes, the taskmasters took him down into the ship." As the man, Marvin, and the remnant turned to walk away, they thanked Peter and headed down into the interior of the ship. The deeper they went, the darker it became, and the mustier it smelled. This place reeked of decay. The man illuminated the area with his essence, and they spotted Bud. The remnant watched and waited for their opportunity to join in the rescue, for now they stood near, waiting for orders. "Marvin, we are going to need your key to unlock Bud," the man stated as he walked towards Bud. Marvin was sickened by this setting. It was hard to imagine allowing anything to exist in these conditions. A demonic guard appeared in front of Bud and barked, "What gives you the right to come for Bud?" This guard was ugly. He smelled bad too. The man was not intimidated at all. "Bud belongs to me. He gave himself to me at the fire. You have taken a spirit against his will and against mine. Marvin has the key, and he will unlock Bud." The guard looked at Marvin and questioned, "Did you give your life to this man at the fire, as he has stated?" "Yes, I did," Marvin replied with confidence and said, "Now step aside." The guard stepped aside for Marvin, allowing him to bend down, meeting Bud where he was. Bud's face looked familiar. Marvin realized he resembled him. Some of the things the man said to the guard made him wonder if Bud was his relative. As he looked into Bud's eyes, it all clicked. He realized he was looking at himself. Questions ran through his mind about this reality, about this situation. How could this man be him? Or is this someone that just looked like him? Regardless, he was on a mission to set this captive free. He took the key and inserted it into the lock. The key seemed old but worked perfectly, easily releasing the lock. However, the chains remained. Marvin started to remove the chains and realized that they were stuck. The man said, "The chains will release as you bless him." Each blessing he released for Bud weakened the chains, allowing them to become loose and slip off. The man explained, "Curses have a hard time remaining their grip when blessings are the weapon of choice." The remnant watched in amazement as they learned that the tools that they had used many times before could be used to release a captive in a place like this. They stood in agreement with the blessings that Marvin released, making the authority of his words even more powerful. Bud struggled to stand. He was weak and malnourished from being held captive. In his current weakened state, Marvin wondered how they would get him out. Darkness had worked very hard to destroy this part of Marvin, but in the hands of the man, darkness lost its grip and renewal was possible. The man carried a leather container of water with him. Bending to meet Bud, he took the container and placed it near his mouth. "Here, Bud, take a quick drink," he said. Then he began to pour water over Bud. This instigated a restoration process. Tissues strengthened, muscle mass developed, stature straightened, and wholeness was restored. When the last drop of water had been used up, Marvin clearly recognized Bud as a piece of him who had been held captive on this ship. The man explained to Marvin that this portion needed to be received back to himself. The man said, "Tell Bud something like this: I need you and I receive you back as a part of me. Share that you are safe now and he can come home." Marvin didn't quite understand the reasoning for this. However, he trusted the man. He had already taught him so much. This will be something new. Marvin looked at Bud and said, "I'm not sure how this works, but I trust the man. He's been right every time so far. Bud, I am safe now, and I need you to come home and be a part of me." Bud smiled as Marvin extended his hand. Bud gripped Marvin's hand, joining forces with Marvin. The emotions Bud had been experiencing were now felt by Marvin. At first, it was overwhelming, but within minutes, his emotions shifted to harmony and balance. Marvin had not realized that this piece of him was missing, yet, as the connection continued, he experienced deeper peace than before. This uniting brought a sense of wholeness inside of Marvin. As they left the depths of the ship, Marvin was able to see the trauma he felt through a new lens. He left the hurtful feelings of abandonment behind, receiving wholeness and completeness in their place. Chapter 20. Peter sat on the deck hoping that the man and Marvin would come back for him. He hadn't been thrown into the depths yet and was hoping he wouldn't have to go there. His eyes caught a glimpse of Marvin and the man coming towards him. The remnant followed them, and this time he felt they had more power than before. He called out to them, "You promised you would come back for me. Don't forget me." The man hadn't forgotten. He was moving towards Peter. "We are here. You are not forgotten," the man said. "Marvin, you have the key. Unlock Peter." The man said. Marvin slipped the key into the lock and turned the key, and released the lock from Peter's chains. The man reminded Marvin, "Blessings, release the chains." Marvin recalled the process with Bud and proceeded to bless Peter. As before, with the blessings of Marvin and the remnant joining in, soon the chains loosened and fell off, freeing Peter. Peter asked, "Where's Bud? Did you find him? Is he safe?" Bud stepped forward beside Marvin and said, "I am here. Marvin and I have been separated for a long time, and now we're together." Being set free from all these horrible conditions released many emotions for Peter, all of which were hard to articulate. Mostly, he was grateful to be free. Marvin had questions that only the man could answer. He inquired, "You said we would be setting Bud free, but Peter was not someone you spoke about. Also, I see many who are captive here. Is there anything more we can do?" "I like your questions, Marvin," the man responded. He was not sure how far Marvin would be willing to go. This journey was still his choice. Even though he was here with the man on the other side of death, the man desired a relationship with a free will to choose, and growth was still a choice. The man took a deep breath and sighed as he contemplated a response. Many here on this ship are related to you. Some are in your generational line. Time and space are connected here for them on this ship. Many have been hurt and have experienced trauma on this water. Time does not matter on the other side of death, but it connects. A moment on Earth is like 7 years here. Time is different in this place. It loops. This place is a vortex holding and claiming some in your line. Others who are not in your line are still contained in this region on this ship. You have the key, and when we partner together, the power of the ship can be dismantled, allowing those who have been stuck an opportunity to make a free will choice. The ship will not be able to hold them. They may choose to stay or leave. This may be hard to understand, but this ship contaminates the water, making the Creator's creation violated and sick. It needs to be dismantled. Can you take this journey with us to claim this water and this region back for the Creator's good? The man asked. Most of the spirits that were stuck there stopped and listened to the man speak. It was as if they understood the reasoning of the man. They understood that there was truth in what he said. They stood still, waiting and hoping to hear a response from Marvin. While the man waited for Marvin to respond, he continued to share with Bud and Peter this revelation. On the other side of death, there is more understanding than you had before. Some of the truths you already know because the Creator has revealed them to you. Many, though, are available for you to download and digest in this new life that has been given to you. After a few moments, Marvin looked at the man and replied, "You are a good friend to me. You have partnered with me through all of these events, teaching me along the way. What I have experienced has only left me hungry for more. I trust you, and I am willing to partner with you through this new thing you would like to teach me." The man replied, "I knew you were one of the few that could walk this through with me. I am going to call the two others that will play a huge role in this. Papa, Creator, come to me now. Comforter, the Spirit, come to me now." As the man spoke, the one on the throne stood with them, and the woman at the fire pit stood with them. We need the Creator to be the righteous judge. We need the Comforter to help give wisdom. And we need me, who made the payment so that all can be free. And of course, you, Marvin, you play a huge role in this. I will teach you how to war with us and to use your weapons of war with us. We partner with you. As this scene played out, the remnant rejoiced, realizing they were here for such a time as this. They were filled with excitement as they realized they were to be the witnesses and the prayers behind this freedom movement. The pieces were in place and justice would be served. Chapter 21. Marvin stood with the three on the bow of the ship. Peter was free, and not wanting to miss out on taking the ship down, he quickly came to join them. This ship had created so much pain and hurt in his spirit, but if he could help it, he didn't want to miss it. Peter, there are others here that are connected to you. This kinship has been hidden from you because truth sets spirits free. Peter, if you join with Marvin and with us, we will partner with you to dismantle the ship. How do we proceed? Asked Marvin and Peter of the three. They were ready but unsure of what this would look like. Marvin asked, "Can you help us?" That is all the three needed to hear. They wanted to know if there was a desire for participation from both Marvin and Peter. The invitation was received, and the process began. There are many lies circling in the ship. The taskmaster has been twisting the truth by manipulating their thoughts and feelings for centuries. If the taskmaster's manipulation is severed, truth will be seen." "I am not sure what you mean," Marvin replied. "Can you show me what you see?" Sometimes all it takes is being open and willing to see truth. The Creator unveiled the truth of what was hidden from Marvin. Marvin saw a large beast that stood over the ship. It had several heads that operated in different areas. There were tentacles that went from each head, depositing poisonous drops over different sections of the ship. These drops, once deposited on the spirits, changed them. Some would become darker, heavier. Some would become smaller. Some would explode and reassemble, allowing them to be tormented all over again. These souls were being tortured by this beast. There was a second beast that was thick and heavy in appearance. It laid upon the bow of the ship, sending demons out to build structures and devices in places where the spirits could be caught. These spirits would remain trapped until those devices were removed. There was a third person who walked among them. By contrast, he was quite beautiful. But as the Creator continued to expose the truth, the person was revealed to be a beast. His appearance shifted in and out of different forms. His true manifestation could be glimpsed in moments of the Creator's revelation. This beast created many untruths in his form. In addition to the demonic guards, there were other demons present here, tiny, bothersome demons that tormented the trapped, ill-fated spirits. The captured spirits were unable to see much of what the Creator saw. Their eyes had not yet been opened. These souls had been struggling to exist here for centuries. They had no idea that they were captives. Many felt, this is the way it has always been. This is the way it will always be. We have to do the best with what we have in the hand that we've been dealt with. Remain quiet and do what you're told. Don't create any waves. Those on this ship had been conditioned to remain stuck without hope. The Creator had made a way of release through the man. The Creator explained, "He is my son, but is also the Son of Man. He has made a way through the sacrifice of his life, paying the ransom so all can be set free. The time for these spirits to be freed is now. With your mouth, declare that we are in partnership together. Declare that you have chosen us and received forgiveness. Understand that you have chosen a covenant partnership with us. We have your back, and you will stand with us. Declare these truths first," the Creator advised. The remnant who chose to push through the fear and the uncomfortable situations were witnessing freedom. Those who chose not to join and remained behind would not be able to understand the level of freedom they were witnessing. They were glad that they had not missed this moment of growth, and if the request was accepted, this remnant would be available to join the fight for freedom. This would be the birth of a generation into the light. Marvin stood strong and declared, "I stand with the three. I stand with the Creator Father, the Comforter, and the Son of Man. I have asked for forgiveness, and because of that, we are in covenant together. They have my back, and I have theirs," Marvin declared. Marvin had faith, and as he exercised his faith, it grew. He felt strong and power arose within him. He was learning how to war in the spirit. The Creator continued, Marvin, we are so proud of you. You are doing an awesome job. Tell the beast that I am the Ancient of Days, that I created time. Tell the beast that you replaced its twisting lies with my truth. Marvin didn't miss a beat. He spoke the words the Creator asked of him. I stand with the Ancient of Days. He created time, and I ask his truth to reign here. His truth untwists your lies. The atmosphere began to shift and move on the ship. The ones held captive realized the setting they had been in. There was no more darkness. The light of truth shone everywhere, exposing all of darkness's lies and schemes. All of the captive spirits began looking to the light, to the One. The Creator continued with the plan. That beast has 7 heads. Take my sword and sever its heads. The sword that the Creator handed to Marvin looked large. He wasn't sure if he could lift it yet. As he gripped the handle, he found it was lighter than he expected. Looking at the large beast, he wondered how he was going to cut the heads off. However, he trusted the Creator and took one step at a time to fulfill the task he was asked to complete. Marvin declared once again, The Ancient of Days is here. He created all things. I replace your twisting with his truths. These words carried power. The beast shrunk in size and seemed to weaken. He took a deep breath and decided to swing despite the questions that he had. As he swung, the sword became full of light and extended out to a point of each head. It would take 7 swings to sever each head, and quicker than he had imagined, the beast was defeated. With each task Marvin completed, he became stronger. He was beginning to look like a mighty warrior. The 3 delighted in watching any son or daughter grow and mature through the process. Marvin's blossoming maturity brought them much delight. This is how the kingdom would come to the earth realm. It would come through the mature sons and daughters of the Creator. Chapter 22. Marvin could feel the strength arise from within. He understood that when partnering with the 3, Creator, Comforter, and the Son of Man, there was more might than he could have ever imagined. The Comforter was handing him new armor, equipping him for war. Use what you have, and more will be given to you, the Creator promised. There were still a few things left to complete on the ship. The ugly creature who sat in the middle of the bow needed to be removed. The Comforter came to Marvin and said, Do you want to get rid of that beast? Marvin didn't hesitate in response. Yes. As you commanded the beast to go, bless the ship and the water. Tell it to take all its devices and structures with it, the Comforter said. Even though Marvin wasn't exactly sure what this would look like, he proceeded. He saw that his obedience moved things. All it took was a willingness to do what he was asked to do. Marvin spoke boldly. Beast that lies there setting devices to hurt these spirits, I command you to leave and take every device and structure with you. I bless the ship to carry the goods and services that convey goodness to this realm. I bless the ship with the Son of Man and his forgiveness of sins. I bless the ship with the Creator and his goodness and everything that he creates. I bless the ship with the Comforter who brings truth and goodness wherever she goes. I bless the ship with new life, with new hope, and with goodness. I bless this water to bring forth refreshment, life, and the sound of the Creator as He meant it to be. As Marvin did this, the beast could not stay. He had to leave. He could not exist in the same place as goodness. Marvin invited the Creator to join him, and with that invitation, he walked onto the ship, destroying the devices and pushing the beast out. It was a beautiful thing to watch. Freedom was here, and every spirit knew that deliverance was very close. The demons hid, knowing their time was short. The one who appeared beautiful but was not slithered through these spirits. He smiled as he passed through, looking innocent, helpful. He moved towards Marvin to whisper to him, "You are so smart and doing so well. Congratulations on the deliverance of this ship. You can leave now. Things are good." Marvin was caught off guard that this one would be so nice. He was quite beautiful to look at and carried an essence of peace with him. Marvin looked to the Son of Man for help. The Son of Man came and stood between this creature and Marvin, commanding, "Reveal yourself." Marvin saw through the Son of Man and saw the abomination that this creature truly was. He camouflaged himself in beauty, but his true appearance was cursed and twisted and evil. Marvin almost received his lie. He thanked the Son of Man and asked him what he should do. This one is easy. Tell him that he's not from us. He's an abomination, and he must leave, the Creator said. Marvin said, "I partner with the three. You are not of them. You are an abomination of all good things. Leave now." Without delay, the creature left. The Son of Man, Comforter, and Creator celebrated Marvin's growing faith. They thought, there is so much promise in this line because of his obedience. There remained a few more levels to this restoration. Peter was watching all of this patiently, waiting for his part as Marvin did the legwork. He felt because he had only been a spectator that he was not important. The Son of Man could sense the question in his spirit. "Peter, even though you didn't speak, your piece is important. You're standing and supporting Marvin, bringing us much delight. Your role is a little different here. You'll see in a minute," the Son of Man said. "Marvin, there are demons here. Command them to go," the Creator instructed. Marvin's faith had been strengthened to the point where his words carried incredible weight. Marvin looked at the demons and said, "I command you to go." The remnant searched the ship to make sure that no demonic guards or tiny bothersome creatures were left. The ship was swept clean of demons, leaving only the spirits behind. Shackles fell off, and the spirits started moving towards the front of the ship. They came from the depths of the ship and from all over. Soon the whole front of the ship was full of spirits who had been set free. Chapter 23. The atmosphere shifted on the ship to peace and harmony. The sea became vibrant with colors and full of ocean life. The shoreline was visible and highlighted as the cleansing was complete. Members on the shoreline stopped their activities to watch the ship. It was as if they knew something important was about to happen. They waited in anticipation for the next events to unfold. The ship was a structure that couldn't be dismantled until the spirits were released. Marvin, many of these spirits are related to you within your generational line. Peter, some of yours are here also. The reason why you are so important, Peter, is because your generational lines will connect in the near future. What you do here impacts the next generation. As you unlock these spirits in this realm, your generational curses are released from those in the future. You allow future generations to bring the Creator's kingdom in the way they were designed to do. Peter, your generation connects through Anaya, who is a direct line from you and Steve, Marvin's son. Together, they will be a strong force in the kingdom to bring healing and restoration to their spheres. Your partnership with Marvin today allows 2 generations to connect. Do you agree with Marvin and the 3 in what was done here today? The Son of Man asked. Peter replied, "Yes, I do." The Son of Man continued, "Peter, stand with Marvin and together ask these spirits if they would like to know me. Let them know that it is time to leave. They have been freed and need to choose if they want to be with me." There was a hesitation with Peter and Marvin in this moment, causing them to pause. Marvin saw the armor placed on him and knew this could be for everyone if they chose. The freedom he experienced was available for all who would believe. Peter saw the process through Marvin and knew that this could happen for him. Peter saw how the chains broke. He was invited to partner with Marvin and saw the freedom released on the boat. He had been awakened before the others and knew this was what every spirit on the ship had been looking for. As they took in these events, each breathed deeply, and Marvin began to speak while Peter stood agreeing with him. This man, the Son of Man, sought and pursued me so that I would know his love for me. He brought me here to help set you free. He loves you more than you'll ever know. He has a place for you over there on the shore. I've seen the mansions that he has prepared for you. You can go with him so that he can show you the things you will need for this new adventure. Will you choose him today? Marvin asked. Many different responses took place at this point from the entities that had been trapped in this forlorn place. Some were crying because there was hope. Some ran to the Son of Man with no hesitation. Some had to pause and think through what was being presented. Most all moved to the Son of Man. The Creator had created a bridge of light that transported these spirits to the shore. The Comforter was on shore to greet the spirits and introduce them to a process like the campfire experience by Marvin. There was a celebration on the mountain as the spirits were set free. The mountain had been their home long before they left to war for the kingdom, but they had forgotten who they were and become bound and stuck with evil taskmasters. Now these spirits were on their way to reuniting with the Creator. They were going home. Marvin looked around the ship and noticed a few spirits remained. He noticed a few had their heads hung while looking at their feet. The Creator said to Marvin, "2 are better than 1. Marvin and Peter, go, speak with those to see why they are still standing here." Marvin and Peter found that these spirits believed they had unfinished business on the ship, or had responsibilities that prevented them from leaving. Marvin and Peter explained that they were released from their duties. Their new assignments would be found on the shore. Marvin specified there was still so much to do in the land that was created for them. He reasoned with them, emphasizing the love of the Creator once again. One by one, the spirits left. They understood the questions they had would need to be discussed with the Creator. But for now, the ship was no longer available for anyone to use. One spirit remained, trying to get through a membrane. On the other side of the membrane was everything he thought he wanted. He saw the kitchen island, the sink, the bar stools, the wood floor. He imagined the warmth and feeling of home the kitchen offered, and he wasn't sure if he was willing to leave this point. Marvin saw him and followed through with what the Son of Man had shown him before. He went to speak with him. "Spirit, I see you there. I am not sure why you stay," Marvin stated. As the spirit turned to look at Marvin, he realized that this spirit was a piece of him. He had desired all of that at different times in his life. While he had lain on the ship injured, this was the picture that he had held centered in his mind. Marvin's spirit looked at him, asking, "How do I let go of this?" Marvin understood and wasn't sure how to respond. He knew this part of him could not stay, and he needed this piece to come with him. Marvin responded, "I know this is hard because you are a part of me. This is how I feel too. What I have found is that this new opportunity with the Son of Man has lessened that longing to go back. He can show you a new way. He wants to reason with you and to talk with you about this. Please come with us, and I promise you, the Son of Man will not leave you hurting. He's wanting to heal the hurt." The piece that was stuck in the veil walked towards Marvin and joined his side. Marvin could feel this raw emotion held within this piece of himself, the emptiness and the hurt. As the wounded pieces connected together, he was better able to process the hurt through the healed portions, making the transition easier. The Son of Man responded to this new piece, "I bless you. Every piece of Marvin, I bless you for the good you were created to do. May you be whole, lacking nothing." The breath of the Son of Man passed through his portions, bringing energy and healing. They were becoming one flesh. After the spirits departed, the ship evaporated. The Creator, Son of Man, Marvin, Peter, and the remnant stood on the bridge, looking towards the shore. The remnant was set ahead to help with the new arrivals. The Son of Man asked Peter to go on ahead and to meet the Comforter on the shore. He reassured him that they would join with him shortly. Peter hugged the Son of Man, shook Marvin's hand, and hugged the Creator, thanking each in turn with grateful heart. After the goodbyes were finished, he hurried to the shore. Chapter 24. The Creator desired a moment with Marvin alone. All of his children were his favorites, but Marvin's heart captured his own. "Marvin, well done, my son. Thank you for taking on this task with us. You have fought bravely, and we are excited about the warrior you are becoming. Many spirits were rescued today, and we are grateful you took this journey, showing them the way to freedom. We would like to promote you to the next level. With each level, there is a new training. which we will help you gain as you war with us. Many spirits are still stuck in different areas and desire to be free. Will you continue to move forward and partner with us to show them the path to freedom? The Creator asked. Marvin thought about his family in the earth realm. He knew that they would miss him. Yet here in this place he understood that time was irrelevant. Also, with the joining of all his pieces, the ache for the other life had faded. Marvin knew if he accepted this challenge, there would be no turning back. He would be walking into the new, and in a few moments he would see his family again. The fulfillment he discovered here was what he was designed for. There was freedom from pain, sickness, mental disease, and addictions here. He experienced bold victories in this place. He had said his goodbyes to his family, and he knew they understood. This next phase promised a life full of adventures with the Creator. I choose to partner with you and to continue my advancement, Marvin said with excitement in response to the Creator's offer. The Son of Man handed him an envelope and a key. When the Son of Man retrieved the key, he found the unopened envelope from Billy. Marvin remembered wanting to save the note from Billy for another day. It was interesting that this is when it presented itself. Go ahead, open it, the Son of Man urged. Marvin saw his name on the front. He remembered how good Billy was to his family and the gifts he had given them. As he held the envelope, he quietly thanked the Creator for Billy's friendship. His fingers tore open the side of the envelope and extracted the folded paper from inside. His hand shook as he gently unfolded the written note. He read each word carefully. Marvin, today you will take your destiny. Today you will go to protect and serve us. Embrace your destiny and know that we will be here for your family. Have peace with knowledge that we will protect them as if they were our own in your absence. Seize your destiny and change the world. Billy signed the note with bold, sweeping strokes, adding to the sense of sincerity behind the words he had written. The letter was perfect for this moment. He was about to embrace the new destiny the Creator was handing him. He knew as he received this new assignment, he would be in a place to help change the world. It was almost as if Billy knew in advance this was going to happen. I'm sure he didn't know, but then again, maybe? The thought was intriguing to Marvin. Either way, it confirmed what he already felt. He could protect and serve in deeper ways here, impacting the lives of many generations. He couldn't turn down this offer. He was all in. Son of Man, I am ready, Marvin said with enthusiasm. As he spoke those words, his earthly body expired. He left one life to take on the next, and for Marvin, the adventure had just begun.